Good morning, church. How are we? I enjoyed that Sabbath school very much. Thank you for that. I think the polluting of the Sabbath, we should dig into that a little bit more. That's very serious, actually, because Nehemiah, the children of Israel went into captivity because of polluting the Sabbath. All right, we are going to talk about health. And there are many different aspects of our health. There's mental, physical, but we're going to talk about physical this morning. Let me see if this pointed this way. Oh, okay, very good. All right, so how many believe that our health is our wealth? Yes, if we are not healthy, we can't function. We can't function. I was working a moment ago. You're doing it? All right. I'm going to need some help reading some of the slides. Today we're talking specifically about our physical health and how heavy metals can affect our health. But we're going to go through some things before we get to that. All right. Christ said his method alone will give true success in reaching the people. The Savior mingled with people as one who desired their good and shows sympathy for them, ministered to their needs, won their confidence, then he invited them to follow him. He wants all of us to be healthy, and he demonstrated that while he was here. So we have pointed at that.
Check to see if the switcher is on at the side.
It's on, yes. If you would like to advance it, that's fine too. The other direction, please. Again. I think we're hitting back. Okay, again, forward. All right, so we have spiritual health. Help me read this together, please. Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospereth. So he wants us to have spiritual health. Supposed to be good. He wants us to have physical health. Again, together, and said, if thou wilt diligently hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, and wilt do that which is right in his sight, and wilt give ear to his commandments, and keep all his statutes, I will put none of these diseases upon thee, which I have brought upon the Egyptians, for I am the Lord that healeth thee, found in Exodus 15 and verse 26. So he wants us to have spiritual, physical, and mental. Together, please. For God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind. We found that in 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7. And social health. A man that hath friends must show himself friendly, and there is a friend that sticketh closer than a brother. We find that in Proverbs. But we're going to focus on physical health. And today, I mentioned previously, we're going to talk about heavy metals and how they can affect us, and how God saw in advance that heavy metals would be affecting our physical health, and he's given us a remedy to fix that. All right, so when we look at our environment, do we know where we can find heavy metals today? Do we know what heavy metals are? Huh? We know. Okay, we can find it in drinking water, but just very quickly, to make it short and sweet, there are chemicals in our environment. They're called forever chemicals. They're chemicals that they're very toxic, and they find themselves on our environment. Today we can find them in the air. We can find them in our water. We can find them in the soil. When we look, we find them in the food, in different products that we use, like lotions and shampoos and the like. And today I want to focus on how we find them in the body, because once we find them in all of these locations, then naturally we'll find them in our bodies. So there's a process, and it's kind of a complicated word, but I'm going to do my best to make it short and sweet. Okay, it's called chelation. Chelation is when these heavy metals connect with our body chemicals, our body structure, molecules, and they lodge in there. And they affect our health. They can affect us mentally, physically, they can affect our entire being. Now, God saw that this was going to happen, and he provided a solution before. I'll tell you a story. People may or may not know his name, but his name is Steve Wahlberg. He has a ministry called White Horse Ministry, and he has some children. And one day he was driving down the road, and the youngest of his children was in their car seat. And he looked back, and the child was having a seizure. And he couldn't understand what was happening, because he nor his wife had seizures. The older child didn't have seizures. And they were very confused. Well, they went on a journey to figure out what is happening to my child. They went to neurologists. They went to specialists of all kinds. Ultimately, they ended up at Loma Linda. Someone suggests this is a year process. The child continues to have seizures, and they don't know what is happening. But because it's their child and they want their child to be healthy, they're digging and trying to figure out what's happening. So eventually someone suggested that they go and get the child's blood tested. And when they went to get the blood test, they didn't test just the child, they tested everybody in the family, because they want to have like a good swath of what's happening. They found out that the youngest child was the most affected by the heavy metals. When they go back and search, where are these things coming from? They're coming from the toys that they're playing with and they put in their mouth and they eat. They're coming from the foods that they're eating. They're coming from even the clothes that they're wearing. All of these things are affecting us. Heavy metals are affecting us at many different levels. And I don't want to say this to make anyone afraid, because God knew that this was going to happen, and he provided a way out. He provided a means for us to have health, even in spite of what is happening. In this same book, Steve mentions that do we believe that the love of money is the root of all evil? All right. There are industries in the U.S., and their off product, once they make their product, are toxins. So they'll have heavy metals, for example, because I want to stay on the heavy metals. They have heavy metals in their off product, not their actual product, but their byproduct. Heavy metals are produced. And to get rid of those heavy metals, they have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to get rid of that toxic waste. What they have done now is they changed the name of that product, and they call it, for example, fertilizer. So legally, they are now able to sell that instead of paying to get it removed. They're able to sell that, and that product goes into your soil, then into your food, then into your body. And as a result, we are toxic. And again, I don't want us to be fearful. Like, remember, God did not give us the spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and a sound mind. He's given us understanding how to become healthy and how to get these metals out of our bodies. So I wanted to stay here on chelation to understand this just as basically as I can. I put a little image in here. That second paragraph, you'll see that the Greek word for chelation comes from the Greek word which means claw. And if we think about crustaceans, they have those big claws on the ends of their body parts, legs and arms. You see those claws there. we can think of the heavy metals grabbing onto our cells and fixing themselves there. And there's a way that we can get rid of those things. And God has provided that way. And I wanted to share just very briefly one of the ways that we can get rid of these heavy metals out of our body. Now, I am doing a medical missionary course right now, and we actually have to practice these things on ourselves before we do it to anyone else. And I have had the privilege of helping someone do this, and they have physically felt the benefits. Even their blood pressure has gone down, because once our bodies become healthy, our organs are able to fight and our health is restored as a result. So this method is a 3-day method in particular. It starts at 6 and ends at 6 in the day. And I'm going to walk us through it very briefly so that we can see how God has provided a remedy for us and how simple it is. All right, so through this process, through these 3 days, you do the same thing every 3 days. The same thing. And as we're doing it, we're keeping hydrated. All right, so in the morning, we start with a warm 12 ounces of water, and we have 2 to 4 ounces of that will be lemon. And then we go on to, at 7 a.m., then we will take formulas. These formulas are designed to cleanse the body. The body has these impurities. The bodies have these chemicals, and we're getting rid of those through things such as, is anyone familiar with these names? Cascara, Sagrada, Senna? Okay, all right. So we put these capsules together, and at 7, we would take a certain amount of these chemicals, and I don't want to take too much time because there's so much on this slide. But when we take the capsules, we'll also take it with something called slippery elm. And slippery elm regenerates the body. It helps the gut, and it is a growth stimulant. So as it goes through the body, it's actually healing the gut when we take these products. So at 7, we would do the cleanse, and at 9, for example, we would take a very strong green drink, something like kale, dandelion, collard greens, of course, lemon juice, and hemp oil. Hemp oil actually helps release all of it's not the only thing that helps release the toxins and the pollutants, but one of the things that does. So then we'll jump to 11 a.m. And 11 a.m. we'll take a tea, and that tea is made up of these things. Some of these things I had no idea what they were, but I'm getting to know them. And I've taken them for myself, so I know that it works. And then what I appreciate about this cleanse in particular is normally in the past I've done cleanses, and I'm so hungry. I don't know what to do, and I'm kind of frustrated. But this one, it actually helps you. You're feeling that you're fasting, and you're feeling that your body is like asking for food, but at the same time you're being sustained through things like the juices and the smoothies. And then at 12 you would have a smoothie, and you go back to your tea. And throughout all of this process, of course, you are keeping hydrated. And at 5, you'll take a tea. And at the end of the day, at 6 a.m., you take a large salad. And the salad is none of these ingredients are random. Each ingredient has been studied to be able to do what your body needs it to do to release these toxins and these heavy metals. And then at the end of the day, the salad in particular, the salad is actually now renourishing your body. And when you go to sleep with all of this fiber in your gut, in the morning you have a very substantial bowel movement, and then these toxins exit your body. So even though we are being surrounded by heavy metals and things that make our bodies toxic, God has provided a remedy for us. And I thank him for that. And again, our health is our wealth. And I pray that God would bless each of our healths. Thank you.